All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son Hamashiach, or Hamashiach, who some call Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Yashayah, Yahusha. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. Brother Feeney is here. Just a short commentary on and a little word study that we can look a little further into of our brother Captain Tazaryach. He's had a couple debates on the virgin birth, and the latest one, I say I gotta give him a salute for the latest one that he did, even though I have a difference in understanding on the virgin birth. I do believe he was born from a virgin. I don't think Mary had sex till after that child was born. Anyway, so even though we have different stances, I do agree that he proved his point a lot better against it was a Catholic brother, and he was just so animated and so extra. And I'm gonna say this too, man. JP Uncut, it was on JP Uncut's channel. It may be on Captain Tazaryach's channel also. They could have been double streaming, I'm not sure. But you Catholic apologists, y'all might need to check him. Y'all might need to have a sit down. And that make me have to reevaluate the debate or the dialogue that he had with brother Alton Johnson. Because I didn't notice, I really didn't know that, brother, how antsy he is. Y'all may need to have a sit down with that brother, and you may need to take some time to get it together, man. You know, it was one part where they were doing the cross examination, and Captain Tazaryach had pulled out them church fathers, and that's how I told you. That's how you deal with them. And he didn't think that he didn't think that Captain Tazaryach, and that's y'all problem too. Y'all be underestimating brothers. You be underestimating Israelites. But he brought out them church fathers and brought out a quote showing that these church fathers, one of those church fathers did believe, or one or two or however, but because the brother was saying none of the church fathers, all the church fathers thought that you know, Mary was a virgin, and him being a Catholic, he's gonna lean to that. He's gonna appeal to the church fathers. And when he brought out that verse that said, or he brought out that source showing that's not true, man, that brother had a fit. And Tazaryach tried to go on to the next question. He's like, no, don't worry, I'm gonna answer the question. I'm going to answer that question. Don't you worry. No. When he asked me a question, I'm going to answer that question too. He just couldn't help himself. It was ridiculous. It was a bad look. Y'all looked it horrible out there. And y'all might need to talk to that brother. What's that? Sam Shimon and you know, I don't know whoever else, but y'all might need to sit down and talk to that brother. And brother, you may need to examine that video yourself. Look how you looking. But yeah, man, salute the brother Tazaryach for that. You know, he did hold his own, and I think that he proved his point. Even though I disagree, he proved his point a lot better than that other brother did. But let's deal with this that he's saying here, and we'll look a little more into it. This is from a debate that he had even earlier than that. Let me pull it back some.
What he said about the word virgin in Luke and choosing Bethula does not exist during the time that Luke was written. Anybody can look this up. So, as I stated, Luke 1:27, that word is Parthenos. And the word virgin that is used in Matthew to apply to Mary is Isaiah 7:14, which is also Alma, not Bethula or Bathwala, because Bathwala would be a woman, the type of virgin that never actually had sex. What he said about
so what he's saying there is that it's two words in the Hebrew, Bethula and Alma. It's two words. And the Bethula really means virgin, hadn't had sex, and the Alma means maiden. And to his point, he's correct. All right, he is correct with that. But one of the things is translated Parthenos, and that's the thing. Either way, it's translated in the Greek Parthenos. And if we again, if that'll be one of my questions, if we're looking at the Greek Septuagint, or and then you're using the Alma from the Masoretic text, which is 1,000 years after the Greek, and it's Parthenos in the Greek in the Old Testament, and it's Parthenos there. We have to look at that too, because you can put yourself in a windmill, and it'll circle back around and cut you. But I do feel that that's the correct translation, that the Isaiah 7:14, I feel that it probably wasn't speaking on a virgin, but the fulfillment was. The fulfillment is a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little more glorious, for the lack of terms. But that's my. But let's look here. Let me share my screen. Hold on. I'm gonna share my screen here, and then we'll look at this little article on the subject. Again, this isn't. I agree with Tazaryach and what he's saying here. You're just looking a little deeper into it. We can grasp a little more. And get a little more in depth. And this is one of the things also, is that why we spend so much energy on this Lashawan Quadash, and there are no manuscripts that we can glean from. Like, you can't prove your point with the Lashawan Quadash. You know what I'm saying? You're not proving your point with that. And so why spend so much energy? Why not revert some of that energy and put it into learning Greek and learning biblical Hebrew, or Hebrew that, when we say biblical Hebrew, there's one that's on these manuscripts that we can read, and because that has to be the next level. We have to start understanding the language. We have to not just make Bibles, and no shot at the brother Ariella, but we have to be able to translate some of the text, to get into a deeper methodology of how these things, we have to be able to parse some of these things out that we're having certain questions about, that seem to be endless. And even this, we're not going to get a definitive answer, even with this information from the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. It says Bethula, from the root meaning separated, is a woman living apart, i.e. in her father's house, and hence a virgin. Bethula seems to have been a technical term for a virgin, as appears from such a combination as Na'ara Bethula, a damsel, a virgin. All right, and this word is used in Deuteronomy 22:23 and verse 28. An apparent exception is Joel 1:8, where it says, "Lament like a virgin Bethula for a husband," and then it's used as a allegory. We also have to talk about the different the figures of speech, the analogies, the similitudes, the metaphors, the hyperbole. We have to deal with and understand all these languages when we're reading the text. A lot of us are gleaning to certain things, seeing certain things, and not realizing or understanding that these are figures of speech. And maybe sometimes not being familiar enough with the text to see these things mentioned over and over and over again, because we're so far removed from the text that that we don't know that it's a figure of speech. You know, we always talk about, well, you know, if I say if it's raining cats and dogs, you know, somebody 2,000 years from now may not know that that's a figure of speech. You know, and that's it's tons of that within the text that we just don't recognize as figures of speech. But you know, sometimes one of the key signs is you seeing it over and over and over and over through different prophets. Even though it's different events, the same language as being used is a kind of a hint or indicator for me anyway. But the word is probably due to a wish allude to the title Virgin Daughter of Zion. The translation of betrothed maiden is untrue. A betrothed maiden is untrue to Hebrew sentiment. And the use of virgin for a city, Isaiah 37:22, compare Isaiah 23:12, 47 and 1, probably means subdued. All right, when it's referencing a city, a virgin city, meaning it's never been conquered, i.e. Ethiopia, so they say. Though as often a title may persist after its meaning is gone, Jeremiah 31:4, King James Version and the English Revised Version frequently render Bethula by maiden or maid. Judges 19:24, but the American, that was the example, but the American Standard Version has used virgin throughout, despite the awkwardness of such phrases as young men and virgins. And that can look kind of crazy. Could have said young men, young women. Some translated like that. Psalms 148 verse 12. For tokens of virginity, proofs of chastity, see the commentary of Deuteronomy 22:15. Now this is the word alma, rendered in the Revised Version, British and American, by either damsel. Psalm 68:25. Usually Exodus 2 verse 8, or virgin, or with margin, maiden. Songs of Solomon 1:3 in chapter 6 verse 8, and Isaiah 7:14. That word there is used, alma. The word means simply young woman, and only the context can give it the force virgin. Okay, now, and that's interesting also, that context can give it virgin. This force, however, seems required by the contrast in Songs of Solomon verse 6, but in 1 verse 3, virgin throws the accent in the wrong place. The controversies regarding Isaiah 7:14 are endless, but Septuagint took alma as meaning virgin, parthenos. But in the New Testament times, the Jews never interpreted the verse as a prediction of a virgin birth, a proof that the Christian faith did not grow out of the passage. All right, so it's saying that this is evidence that the early church, well, yeah, I can say the early church, but Jews weren't looking for a Messiah to be born and a virgin. And that's why I feel like it is correct to have that as alma there. But I don't know, I don't think there's another word in the Greek, so it's just it's parthenos. But I feel maybe, you know, well, I ain't gonna say what I feel, what happened, well, what might have happened. But I think alma is correct if you're going to distinct between the young maiden and a virgin. Isaiah 7:14, I don't think a virgin was there, all right, from that place, and you couldn't glean from that. But the writers are saying that, whoever we saying these writers are, they're saying, if you feel like it's Matthew is saying this was a fulfillment of that. Like I say, just a more glorious fulfillment. There's also brothers who don't believe in the first 2 chapters of Matthew for textual criticism reasons. I'll get into that in maybe another time, but I do. At this moment, do believe in Matthew 1 and 2. But I'm just giving you all the arguments. Parthenos. It said it's proof that the Christian faith didn't grow out of it being a virgin birth. And they may not have had that understanding, when they were first coming in. All right. And again, Matthew was written a lot later. Parthenos, the usual Greek word for virgin, Judah 16:5, Matthew 1:23, Revelations 14:4. The word is masculine. In 1 Corinthians 7:25, the Revised Version, British and American, has explained virgin by writing virgin daughter in 7:36-38. This is almost certainly right, but virgin companion, C. Litzman and J. Wise in the place cited, is not quite impossible. Neanis, young woman. I think that's another Greek word for young woman. That may not be. It may be a same situation with Alma. And that's Sirach 20 verse 4. You have in Latin, you have Virgo. All right, you have Latin, you have Virgo in 2nd Esdras 16:33. Now, this is a question for my scholars. This is a question for my Hebrew scholars. Why does 2nd Esdras have Latin in it? Why does 2nd Esdras have Latin in it? And when was the start of writing these manuscripts in Latin? When was the Latin Vulgate? What's the date of the Latin Vulgate? And why does 2nd Esdras have Latin in it? All right. And he had the word there, Virgo. Anyway, the Old Testament lays extreme emphasis on chastity before marriage. Deuteronomy 22:21. But childlessness was so great a misfortune that the death before marriage was to be bewailed. Judges 11:37-38. Paul's preference Shalakia, for the unmarried state, 1 Corinthians 7:29, is based on the greater freedom for service. Matthew 19:12. The Greek estimate of virginity as possessing a religious quality per se is foreign to true Jewish thought. Such a passage as Philemon section 53 is due to direct Greek influence. Some have thought to find a trace of the Greek discipline in Revelations 4, but 144,000 first century Christians ascetics are out of the question, and the figure must be interpreted. See, that's another thing too, is the figure, the typology, the foreshadow. A lot of us are holding on to the figure and not the fulfillment. Must be interpreted like James 4:4 reverse. So that's all I wanted to give y'all, just for us to look a little more into it. Like I said, I do agree with my brother, but for me it's almost like the Passover lamb. Like the 714 was a type or a foreshadow for something greater that was to come, something a little more miraculous, something that was a greater sign. And so I still feel that it was a virgin. She was a virgin when she gave birth. That happened through the Holy Spirit, like the text says in Matthew. But I did want to go over that so we can see, the different arguments, and I can give my understanding on it, and to throw out there that while we spending so much energy on something that we can't use to get a better understanding of the text. Why do we have all of these different? And then too, in that debate, that brother asked him. He asked the Captain Tazaryach, could he speak the Greek? Could he speak the Hebrew? And he may have just been the Greek. All right, but he was like, nah, I can't, but I can. Basically, I can sound it out. I can go to the blue letter and sound it out. And he thought he ate with that. He was trying to use that against it. And that's what I'm saying. We need to we gotta update, we gotta increase the scholarship. You know, a lot of the stuff we seen some of our leaders do, we done got complacent with that and think that's how we should be teaching, and but man, we just have too many tools today for us to be ignorant in a lot of these things. And so, you know, we got to keep growing and keep delving into the text, keep using some of these tools, learning these tools, so that we can get a better understanding and a better grip on some of these things. So we have to keep going back and forth and making so many corrections and so forth. But again, pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all on the next one. Shalom.